News Talk for the Virgin Islands. AM 970 WSTX.
All right. It's Thursday. Happy Thursday. Fantastic Thursday. Thursday that's going to lay the foundation for just plain great, outstanding, excellent Friday. All right. And we have God to thank for all of them. Anyhow, this is Reflections with your host, Doug Canton here. Yeah, today they have me all alone for a little while, but you know what that means? I get to be all alone with you. All right. Good. Anyhow, WSTX. The opinions expressed on the radio program by the host guests, and call-in listeners are solely the opinions of the original source, meaning me, the caller, whoever is here as a guest. Okay, that says it. They do not necessarily represent the opinions of Caledonia Communications Corporations, its advertisers, and its affiliates. All right. Having said all of that, things sometimes get a little heated, a little hot here and there, but the bottom line is we need to keep it constructive toward doing something positive, because in the end, if you point out a problem, hey, anybody could do that. It's where you're going to go from there. Just like when you fall down, anybody could fall down. But are you going to get up? Are you going to resume? Are you going to be that much more determined to get where you got to go? Well, there are a couple of things that I'm going to touch on, since we have a kind of a open mic here. If you want to call in, 773-0390, 773-0490. I'm expecting some guests later on. We're going to talk about some things that are important to all of us. All right, I want to give a shout out to all of the listeners in the Caribbean, the Virgin Islands, going on up north now to the U.S., going on over into Europe, and all the way up to Denmark even, where I've gotten some feedback in terms of what's going on WSTX, all the way down to Down Under. Okay, VI Gone Global, my son. Don't think that you're just hearing this little dot and somehow you're disconnected from everything. Everything everywhere is affecting what's going on here. All right, and I haven't done this for a while, but I'm going to take a look here at some of what's going on in the news. As I look at the paper here, I see that there's concern about travel costs that this government is incurring, and so forth and so on. It's one thing to be concerned, but my bigger concern is what's been happening from administration to administration. How do we get to some sense of being copacetic, having a standard to measure by? Because I keep hearing all of these things. The present administration is always the one that's going to be the focus, that we understand that. But we need some type of a sounding board, and to really not be emotional, to be analytical, to be logical. If anybody interested in logic these days, we need to find out what's been going on over the years, not rumor, not how anybody feels, the actual numbers. Because if what we have is a trend of what's been going on, or a trend that diverges from what was done before, then you have something objective to deal with. Right now, it just is a little bit too personal, emotional, and political, and I don't know that that's taking us anywhere, because it ain't fixing a pothole in my road, okay, and it ain't fixing a school. It ain't helping the cost of water to go down, the cost of gas to go down. So we got some real issues that we got to deal with here, and I'm not saying that these things aren't important. I'm just saying that where is our focus? All right, what is our business climate? We talked about GERS the other day. Well, you know, the real deal with GERS is the fact of the matter is you have to have an employee population that supports GERS. You have to have internal management that makes GERS efficient to work properly. These are real deal issues that are affecting the quality of life for everybody here in the Virgin Islands every day. And these are the things that we have to deal with, not have a hearing, jump up and talk about it. I think people tired of hearing, talking about the same thing over and over and over and over. It's like, so what you're going to do about it? And that's where we at. So that's what I'm saying. Issues like this, when you start talking about traveling and money spent and so forth, if I don't have something to bounce against, you know, to give it some type of an objective measure, then to me it's just like they're trying to play with people emotionally to get them riled up over something. Give me something to measure by so that I can assess what's going on here. And I see also that the 1F Louis board says that the talks with CMS went well. Okay, and more information to come. Well, the bottom line is 1F Louis, to get to that point where we address CMS, we address other concerns, we make sure that the monies for GERS are in fact going to GERS. I want to see a report on that. You know, the fact of the matter is monies that were trust funds to go into people's GERS accounts were being diverted to other use. And I'm saying that you owe, as a matter of accountability, some type of report, follow-up report, to show what all is in place and is happening now. Because if you open up a new account, that doesn't mean you're putting money in it. And I'm not casting stones at anybody. I'm just saying the responsible thing to do is to come back to the people and report what is actually being done. The other thing is, a lot of people may not know, but there are a lot of positions at 1F Louis that are being done on a contract basis to, as far as I'm concerned, avoid participating in GERS, and that's to some degree undermining the system. So what's the game plan to get 1F Louis to become, like the other agencies, more in compliance with participation in GERS? Okay, so my hospital, I love you, but you gotta do it right. You gotta do the right thing. Just because I love you, I ain't gonna look the other way if you're not doing the right thing. All right, so tough love, let's get it right, because in the end it's gonna benefit everybody. Tough love. Okay, and said that, and I had a flashback there when that belt come down. It was tough love. And I tell you not to do it. All right, well, anyhow, I think in the end it made me a better person, but it would have been nice if I had all the traits necessary so I wouldn't even come to that. But in fact, everybody can't be the same, and everybody doesn't learn the same. But the important thing is to come back and report to the people who in turn you want to support you, and to have faith in your fiscal as well as medical operations. All right, so come on back. I'm inviting you to talk about that. I don't, CMS is the hot button, but I'm saying what's going on with GERS is big enough that you could carve out a discussion about that. So I'm throwing out that challenge to 1F Louis. Of course, we see whether or not they step up to the plate. Like I said, 1F Louis, love you, but you got to do the right thing. Okay, so I'm looking forward to hearing a follow-up with regards to that. Okay, now I see here that Department of Licensing and Department of Labor are scheduled to hold a town meeting at UVA, and that should be very, very interesting. One of the challenges that we have here is jobs here in the Virgin Islands, and one of the things that's critical is job training, because there are a lot of jobs that are opening up in the area of technology. You have to have some basic skills in technology, which starts, of course, with computer literacy to some extent. You got to work with diagnostic equipment, which is just another form of using a computer. The things such as some of the manual skills like networking, the running of wires, the making of the cables, this type of stuff. Of course, we have fiber optic, which is coming to be even more important in terms of having a high-speed network, and we have a local firm here I know that does training in that, and I know that Department of Labor has hooked up with them in the past to do training, and I'd like to see more of that happening, but the reality is that the types of jobs that are available are changing now. The other thing that is really, really important that I've been observing is, and there's a need for more targeted entrepreneurism. And I say that if you want to open a restaurant, that's fine. That's a more traditional type of business in the context of somebody opening up a store. All right. But in the case of, let's say, WAPA is installing new meters and they entered into a contract with a company to install those meters. Well, I'm sure that there was some type of no, I'm not going to say sure. Take that back. I would tend to believe, based on my knowledge of how WAPA operates, that there would have been some type of a bid to do a job, and that a company has to come forward and say, okay, I want to do this job, and here's how much it's going to cost you, and this is what I'm going to do. And then once they select a company, they enter into a formal contract that outlays all of those things. Now, the qualifications to do that particular job have to be met. And if we have the workforce that's trained in the particular things that they can take on, then they need to say somehow in the contract for 10% local hire, 20% local hire, whatever the case may be. But what happens when that contractor, in good faith, and when I say in good faith, it's listed in Department of Labor, whatever flyers or whatever around the place or whatever announcements go out on the radio, it's out there. What happens when they're not able to meet that local percentage hire, not because they didn't go out, but because they don't get applicants or qualified applicants to do the job? Just because it might take 60 seconds or 2 minutes to install a meter doesn't mean that there aren't electrical training requirements for working with electricity that are prerequisite for doing that. And I'm saying this to be devil's advocate, because the bottom line is that we have to train our people to meet the type of jobs that are coming up. Okay? And I reflect on a situation where there was evaluation done on some temporary workers one time to see about their ability to possibly apply for or meet the employment standards for certain other jobs. Okay, there's certain things that generationally people take for granted, but when you go to a water pump and you see a scale on it, you have to be able to know what it measures. When you go to put air in your tire, you have to know what it measures. We're talking pounds per square inch, PSI, or whatever. But you also have to know, for instance, the gradation, what each gradation means in terms of quantity. These are things that maybe some people take for granted. But when someone sees a scale from 0 to 100 and the needle is in the midway, and you ask them what the number is that it reflects, well, you and I who are familiar would know it's 50. But when people writing down on a paper 30, 10, 75, or whatever, well, what that's telling you is that they're not familiar with reading gauges, because not that it's difficult. To me, it's a basic skill, but to somebody else, it's something maybe they were never exposed to. So these are the type of things that we have to start exposing our young people to in the process. And when I say that, I'm not talking about just in terms of training in school. When I'm at home and I have to fix a water pipe, and it involves PVC and a little PVC work, let's say, all right. Now, to explain to a young man why I use this type of saw, because the blade is fine enough to cut the plastic without causing it to shatter or whatever the case may be. To explain to them that the cleaner, they call it cleaner because it's a solvent that takes off a layer of the plastic, so that when the glue goes on, the glue is going to make a clean connection. And that how to put the pieces together and hold them together so that the expansion doesn't push them apart. I've taught that child a skill that in that context that they would have to get some training on somewhere. But if you don't come from that environment, and I see we had the situation at the school there where they were welcoming the young men back to school. We had all the students in general, but the presence of men as part of the symbolism that involves. Well, not everybody has male figure that has necessarily these type of skills to expose them to, and this is why it's important, whether it's Boys and Girls Club or Youth Build or whatever, that we take advantage of all of the resources we have in the Virgin Islands and support those resources too. Now, parents, you don't just drop off children and run. You got to support these resources. That is going to help these children to get exposure, field trips, see things that might trigger something in their mind that says, hey, wow, I could do that. I would like to do that. Okay, so coming full circle, we have to focus on the strategy of training our people to the type of jobs that are coming up. The tech park didn't just open up yesterday. All right, so we knew for years that we're going to need people in IT related training. VINGN was a big red flag. We're going to need people with IT training or IT related skills training. Big red flag. All right, we all the way down to we have the radio telescope out East End. Somebody has to maintain that. It just plopped down there and everybody figure, well, it's just sitting there and it's there by itself, and no, someone maintains it, goes out there and checks on it. But they have to have certain types of skills to have been able to apply for the job and get the job. All right, so these are the type of things that we have to look at in terms of what we can do, the things that are in our control. WSTX AM 970 773-0390 773-0490. All right, so anyhow, when you hear the concerns about jobs and who should be getting the jobs, make sure you go the extra step to look at what the bid requirements were for the job, number one. Number two, look what the training requirements are in terms of being eligible to do the job. All of these things, because the bottom line is we want our young people to have access to employment and upward mobility, but we also have a responsibility to train them up to task so that they could step right in. In our schools, you have to have faith that when you see that report card, that the report card reflects a certain mastery of skills. Well, we know that we have some challenges simply because right now they can tell you that over the years we've been having a problem when we go out, let's say, to hire police, that they have to do certain paperwork and have to have certain basic grammatical skills to be able to do those things and whatever. And they've had challenges with those things for people who came through our system. People go through our system and get down to UVI and they have to go into a remedial process at UVI. UVI had to put a program in place to take folks that are not up to standard and bring them up to standard so that they could continue on through the full UVI curriculum in whatever area that they wanted to major in. Well, this is not to throw stones. This is just to say that, hey, folks, we got to get our folks out the door meeting the standard the first time around. If you measure twice and you cut once, chances are you're not going to make a mistake. But the idea is not to train twice, to test once and pass. The training the first time is to get them there to pass. And this is important because the fact of the matter is, if they step out the door of high school and they can't compete in that test that the employer who just got this contract, whether it be from WAPA or VIN, GN or whomever, and they sit down to take this test and they can navigate this test as well as others, so the employer just going to give the job. They're not looking as much at the fact that these are our local young people here, as much so as they're looking for someone who's qualified, with being from here being an additional criteria that they could take into consideration. Okay, so let's train them out the door the first time, get it right the first time, and make sure that in fact these folks don't get the jobs. There's no conspiracy to keep them out the jobs, but we got to do our part. All right, thank you. I hear my music. Oh my goodness, got me moving again. Well, that means I got to step aside and come back in a few. So we'll be back in a few.
Mark the X. This is AM 970 WSTX.
All right, welcome back to Reflections. As we're here with this open mic, and get up on the soapbox. Maybe I get a little bit higher, but sometimes maybe you need to put me in check or give me some perspective. 773-0390, 773-0490, because Doug Canton don't know it all, don't try to know it all, but he have whatever information he have, he'll share it with you, and you could set him straight if necessary. Good morning, Reflections. How you doing today?
Good morning, Dougie.
Good morning, sir. How you doing?
I hope you have a blessed day.
Man, it's turned out to be fantastic. From the time I opened my eyes, I know things was great. Okay?
You just have to be thankful to hear me.
Hey, tell me about it.
Yeah, so I'm here and I have been thinking about the things that the changes I have seen, and I'm thinking some years down the road when I'm not here anymore, how things might change. I was thinking now would be a good time for people to take pictures from the west of the airborne place up there, you know.
The Seaborn.
Yeah. Seaborn, yeah. That area from there all the way down to Lazaretto. You know where Lazaretto is?
I just came ready to say, you calling these kind of name, and you gotta remember, thing just Dougie alone don't know.
Yeah, well, that's why I hit in a little bit on the old time, and then I'll come back to the new. You know where Lazaretto?
No, I might know the place, but not by the name.
Okay, LBJ.
That's what I figure in. Okay.
All right. A lot of people they know that was the Lazaretto, the leper colony. Anyhow, I think that area there, way down the road, is going to look like Yacht Haven. We have the reef protecting the shoreline and everything, and that might be a place like Yacht Haven, and you have a big drive-in along the seashore. I think that might happen, because what I've seen is, let's say up at South Gate, the west part of South Gate Pan, there is a big entrance to the sea, and that is like a little community by itself.
Right.
Where
Tamarind Reef up that side.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Now, just a little above that is Green Key.
Yeah.
They might call it Green Key, but that is South Gate. Because my godmother and Mr. Willie, they own the whole of that place. And I used to go in the pond and shoot duck with my dad. Now, a lot of people have never been down in there, which would be a good experience to see what is down in there.
Yeah, and I believe the Nature Conservancy, I'm not sure if that's the correct organization, but I know that there's some preservation efforts that are going on there, and I believe it's a park type area around there and also now. But have to get the specifics on that. But definitely,
a lot of boards come there at certain time.
Yes,
and we used to camp out a lot on the beach there. But you see how people get permission to cut a big entrance into the sea and then set up a little something.
Yep.
But this is we have to see what the past was and figure out maybe how the future is coming. Because after we have long gone, the children will see what they see at present, but they don't know what it was in the past.
Well, they have children being born that are going to think that the bypass was always there.
Yes.
Because that's all they know, the bypass.
I asked so many people, you know where the Grove was, the Pleasant Grove? They think in some place in the country.
Yep.
They don't know where it is, but I live in the Pleasant Grove, and that is just to the west of the seaplane area there. I would say maybe quarter mile down, and that big property went across to Red Brick.
Yep.
But that was, you had know it?
Yeah, well, I know before they build up the housing area and everything else, and then they had the fill land there and they graded down, and then they build up the what we know as the water got homes down there.
Well, we lived there. We had our boat, we had our battle, and we used to do a lot of diving and everything. But sometimes I even ask people, you know what's a cancral? They think it's some kind of dance.
Well, go ahead, finish that one day.
And then I have to explain that one fisherman, he would go there by number one buoy, just above number one buoy, sit in the back of the battle with a small glass box, and he got a long stick with a 90-degree quarter-inch on the end, and he would pick up that battle full with conch, and then he come home and he put all those conch in the kraal, and then when he think it's a good day, he go out and he sell them. But you remember when fish was 18 and 20 cents?
No, we were talking about that last time we talked. Yeah, those were some interesting days.
It was even lower than that.
Yeah.
And the things that we used to throw away, look the price for them now.
Well, I'm going to tell you, the whole area has changed. When you pass over there in the seaplane, for instance, one of the things that you can see the impact of the sewage that has been seeping out into the northern side there, and the impact that had over the years. You could see it in the nature what's growing out there, so that impacted whatever was there. But when you talk about that whole area, go all the way down to the Wapa water plant there,
LBJ,
and they are breaking down all of LBJ and everything, and you can only wonder, well, what is the plan for that area? Because that is prime beachfront area, and it's interesting to see what will come of it plan wise down the road.
Well, that is why I'm saying this is a good time for people to take pictures so that the grandchildren and the great-grandchildren could see what it used to look like.
Yep, you're exactly right. In fact, this Sunday I'm supposed to be going out with someone to take some pictures with regards to a gentleman who is getting ready to hit that 100-year mark. And the places that
will be Mr. Strandberg.
No.
Oh.
No. Not.
Oh.
How about Hector?
With contractor?
No. The Dowser, the cricket man.
Mr. Hector, the cricket man.
I go come back to you on that. Okay. Winthrop Hector Senior.
Well, in the contract,
Oh, okay, yeah, no, okay, yeah, I missed that one. Sorry, you're right.
When
you're right.
About contracting,
right?
Talk about the Hector brothers and the Canton brothers.
Right. Yeah, I missed that one. I wasn't paying attention. You catch me good. Yeah, but we got 100-year anniversary coming up. We got history in the making, so we got a little celebration coming up in that regards. But definitely, it's a lot of history that if we don't preserve it, we lose it.
Man, listen, when you talk about the sewage, I could tell you about that. There are so many things that I know about from experience, because after my brother was out a long time in the States, I brought him back. I stay in the bateau and he dive in from Princess coming up. And he said to me, man, I don't see any fishes like I used to, and the coral change in color. I ain't say anything. He dive in, and when we got to the pipe, I says, see the problem there? That pipe that went to the sewage on top the reef and back of the reef.
Yep.
And when we passed that pipe, it was far different. The water was clear and everything far, far different. So we have destroyed a lot.
Yeah. Well, we don't call it moss. And in the more technical world, you hear algae and algae. And you know that when you have septic type of areas where water settle, the type of moss that grows there. Well, when you up in the seaplane, what they in our seawater look more like that than sea life. Okay, so it's only one way it's going to be there if the type of chemicals which would come from sewage type of discharge, and it grow and adapt, and it overpower everything else. So when you fly over there and when you look at that, the greenery you're seeing down there, it comes from pollution, not from the natural thing of the sea, the natural foliage of the sea. So it's one of those things where we need to understand and what it is we're doing, not just for now, not just to create jobs in the short term, but to tear up the place, destroy it in the long term. We got to look at it in that context. You go all the way out to Great Pond, and if you leave it to some people, they'll just fill in Great Pond and make it a big hotel area and put these big buildings on the beach. But the reality is that whole Great Pond serves an ecological purpose. And the first presentation in terms of what they wanted to build there, it respected that ecological process. And since then now, we have a change of heart and a change of plans and everything else, which, who don't like what I said, they could come and we could talk about it. I ain't got no problem with that if you got something better to say. But I'm just saying that over the years, we keep disrespecting how many places you and I might know where they used to have a pond, they used to use it for feeding family or whatever, but not family, but animals and stuff like that. And through dry weather, it would dry up. But whenever I have the rainy season, it would always fill up. Well, when you put dirt in there and you fill in the place and you build a house on it, where's the water going to go? And then we complaining about flooding and places where you didn't have flooding and all these other things. Well, you're doing it to yourself. So when somebody knows somebody that get a zoning or this, that done, whatever, to go and mash up these places later on, we paying the price. Okay, and I'm talking about ages ago, because we have these things that happened ages ago that are plaguing us today. We got to make sure that in fact the people are doing what they're supposed to do, not based on who is friend and who know who and so forth and so on.
And the problem is repeating the same mistake. For instance, up there, you remember Mount St. Mary?
No, I don't know thing like name. I'd run up and down in all of them mountain, but if you ask me name like that, I gonna get lost. I could tell you where everything there in Christianstead. Start asking me street name and thing, then we gonna have problems.
Okay, you know where Mr. Givian used to live?
Say again.
Givian. The contractor Givian.
I know the contractor Givian, but I don't remember.
Okay, if you're going up by the big green tank.
Yes, back up in there.
And you're left on the hill.
Yeah.
That was the first St. Mary's School. That's where St. Mary's School started. And then right down below that was always a war.
Yes, I remember. It's still there, grown over.
Constitution Hill, we had a big catchment there. So we had catchment all over, but all those things gone now. And then we depending on a little water from the sky, or maybe water but we're not trying to solve the problem. Of storage.
We're trying to deal with patches.
Yeah.
You know, and all up in that mountain, when it rains and when you see how the water comes down to the mountain and the big boulders they have up there in the mountain, I was shocked. I take the children up there to see these things, because you're running up and down in these hills, and the next thing you know, somebody build and put a fence gone up and you can't go through there anymore. These are natural things that I think we need to protect in that context, but you have to have a consciousness about the environment. In fact, later on today we're going to have someone here and we're going to talk about the environment, because ultimately it's important to us. We want tourists to come here and bring their dollars. We want to live here and enjoy the place. Well, you got to take care of the place. It don't just happen. You got to take care of it so it could take care of you.
You ever been up to the top of that mountain there that we are just was talking about by the Green Tank? And so that there's a ruin up there.
Yeah, we hike up there all the time.
Mr. Bootsby, I think Bootsby used to live up there. Yeah, but you know, it's nice when a couple people who have seen the past. I mean, I consider myself a still young man, you know. Anyhow, who have been accustomed to the past, the way things were, and discuss this. But the young people, when they hear you talking, oh man, that what storybook he come from? So we have to look at things now, and way down the road, they could talk about it and know what we experience. Yeah.
Let me share a joke with you here, right? You know how time and technology change things, right? I got some people that out there traveling and having a good time, and they up there at Niagara Falls. Okay, they're up there by all the water, and they just remember and send me a text, ask me if I could go by their place and water the plant for them. They in Niagara Falls. Technology, man, technology. They all the way up in Niagara Falls to remember that they plant need water here.
Well, I thank you for the little 5 cents that I could throw in.
Hey, 5 cents, 10 cents, we all got to take care of each other. All right, it was a pleasure talking with you.
Okay.
All right, take care.
Good cigar.
Good cigar to you too. All right, take care. Yeah. I always enjoy that conversation. So, folks, if it seems like I took a little bit more liberty than usual, well, hey, you know, the type of information, legacy information, cultural, historic information that comes from this conversation is always worth the extra dispensation of time. All right. Now, in all that's good that's going on, we have to realize that it doesn't just happen, fall out of the sky, and blop, you get good. You have to work at it. You have to do things. You want to have a garden, you got to water it, you got to condition the soil, and in the same way, living here on St. Croix, living here in these Virgin Islands, we have to cultivate the place to be what we want it to be in the future. And I'm sure most of the voices that you hear from time to time include voices for people telling you that, they're leaving, they're going away, they can't stay for whatever reason anymore. And you know, one of the things that happens here sometimes, like Hovensa was a big example of it, that you had a sea wave change that said that, hey, there just aren't jobs here that for these people, and they're so many in number that they have to go somewhere else, you know. But it happens in other ways that are more subtle. So I'm going to change gears and talk about that now, because we get insurance coverage for our home through AARP. We mean, I'm talking about myself personal, okay? And AARP works through a contractor to provide that insurance here in the Virgin Islands. Well, it just so happens that there is a contractor here in the Virgin Islands, one of possibly others. I believe that there are others that deal with AARP, but it's important. This is not a competition between them and others here. What used to happen was that when our policy was renewed, it would be renewed and handled through that contractor here on St. Croix. And whatever contract fee that they would get, that's part of how they maintain the employees that they have. And they have 2 employees that I know of that I see there. Very pleasant young ladies, very good at customer service and assisting people. And every year I would get my paperwork and I would go down and visit them. You know, you could put it in the mail and send it down. I kind of like to keep in touch with people I know. And so this year, what happened was the paperwork came, and it just so happens that it went to my mom, who took care of the paperwork, filled it out and everything else. Then she's talking to me and explaining to me that now what happened was that she just had to do the paperwork and mail it to these folks in Puerto Rico. All right. So in essence, what happened was a company in Puerto Rico now through the mail is dealing directly with us here in St. Croix or wherever we are that we get the information to do the renewal. Okay, and I'm not talking about the direct company for AARP. This is not a contractor, but out of Puerto Rico. So now, over time, if they transfer all of our AARP using people's contracts, if they transfer all of the contracts to these people in Puerto Rico, it then means that these 2 young ladies in Frederickstead will end up not having a job. Now, there's hope. When you get your renewal from AARP, if they send you these things to the envelopes and the book with the pieces of paper you tear off with each payment and so forth, if they send you that, and it's to be sent to a company in Puerto Rico, and pick up the phone and call them and tell them you want to deal with your people here in St. Croix. This just makes common sense. All right? We're not tenants over here in Puerto Rico, but we can become that if we fall in line with this thinking. Because all that's happening is you got to have a contractor. The only difference is, will the contractor be here in St. Croix or will the contractor be in Puerto Rico? If they're in Puerto Rico, they're paying taxes in Puerto Rico and living in Puerto Rico. If they're in St. Croix, they're paying taxes in St. Croix and living in St. Croix. People you know. People that very easily tomorrow say, well, you know, I'm going away. I can't stay here no more because I can't afford it. I lost my job. And what is a job? It just happens to be that the job is the one you gave away by switching where you do business. Folks, these things you see on TV and hear on the radio about supporting local business ain't no joke. I mean, local business have to do their part. You can't be paying $300 for something you're going to go and buy for $100 someplace else. Now, that's they're doing themselves a disservice to the extent that that's going on. Okay? But you look at Office Max, which is a local business as far as I'm concerned. All right? I go in there and I buy a hard drive for $60. All right. Well, if I go online and that same hard drive is $45, by the time I finish paying the $15 to bring it here to the Virgin Islands, it is the same money. But you know what? The more we undermine the local business, the more we're going to have less people employed, and the more you're going to see the landscape change, because you're not going to recognize people. You're going to miss people, all because maybe your own behavior was helping to undermine your own economy. So I'm saying these things for food for thought, because if nobody says it, if we sit back and be quiet, it just creeps up. It's just a little creep. Little bit by little bit, one business after another disappear, and it ain't whopper. It might be your spending habits and your neighbor's spending habits because you didn't know. But after today, as far as who's listening here today, you can't say you didn't know. Okay? And I got family from here to Santo Domingo to down under to Europe and Puerto Rico. So this ain't a St. Croix, Puerto Rico thing. This is about taking care of your own. All right? And your own there here on St. Croix. Because if you cannot get a job here because a business has been put out of business because local spending habits did not support the local business when it was fair pricing, because in the case of this AARP insurance, it don't cost you any more to walk through the contractor here. It's not like if you're going through Puerto Rico, you're going to get a $200 reduction in your premium. There's no justification like that to say that you're making an economic decision. This is just a decision that either you know to make a decision, or you're ignorant, meaning you don't know, and you by accident do something that you otherwise wouldn't do. But please, don't let it be that you know and you still just went and walk against your own interests. Please, okay? For the sake of all of us here, because this is one boat, it don't matter where the hole is. If water get to a certain level, the whole boat going down and everybody going with it. All right? Anyhow, I'm saying these things because if you know about it and you just get in your little corner and talk with a few people, it doesn't help. In fact, you become part of the problem. And here we try to be part of the solution, not part of the problem. All right. Now, we got a lot of things happening here in St. Croix, some of which you may even want to talk about. 773-0390, 773-0490. If your friends are off island or otherwise don't have good reception where they are, let them know that they can find us on WSTXradio.com, and that there's also streaming. In the case of this show, we also put it on YouTube after the fact because we record it. Good. Hello?
Yeah, Dolly.
Yes, sir. Good morning. You got to turn on your radio.
What about Bully, man?
Bully doing good, man.
I ain't here for one Bully for weeks now.
No, but Bully ain't on the radio no more. Bully have a job that keeping him busy 24 hours a day.
Right?
Yeah.
My guy don't see that. My good friend, I don't see.
Man, well, you know, when you see Bossy a Kafka, your head clean now. You don't feel it.
Where you again?
I ain't want to discuss that over the air. I ain't want, you know. But trust you me, he lived the same place, and he's gainfully employed even more so than he was gainfully employed before.
You're employed by the administration?
Yeah.
By the present administration?
Yes. You know, he has an accounting degree and otherwise is very proficient in his in that profession. So in that context, he's there trying to be part of the solution. You could come to Bully for that. But yeah, man, okay. I see just yesterday. Okay, and when I see it, he looks so different because he undercover look, he doing the work, keeping them straight. Okay, all right, good. All right. You take care. All right. Yeah. I happened to be by a certain location yesterday, and I see Bully coming up the stairs and Bully haircut and everything else, and I'm saying, oh, what? A good thing I know you, otherwise I wouldn't know you. But anyhow, Bully's doing fine. He's doing fine. We talk from time to time. Okay? And it's good because I know when I don't see folks for a long time, I have to wonder because you don't want to hear, announcements and obituaries about people or so forth and so on. And then you say, oh, but I didn't see them. That's all going on. No. The man is doing fine. He's doing well. And in that same sense, somebody's close to you. Hey, go and look for them. If you haven't seen them for a while, go and look for them. Let's stay out of this insular thing stay by my house, and because when you think about it, they have to come by your house or you have to go by their house. Somebody got to go somewhere. Otherwise, we're going to all just be strangers in our own little 4, 8, 12 walls that we have, So anyhow, getting closer to the top of the hour here, and one of the things that we were talking about earlier was the environment, and we're going to have some guests here talking about the environment. And I had moved on to talk about what's going on here with the ARP insurance and what's going on with the process of paying your bill, where you can either pay through a local contractor or you can pay through a Puerto Rico contractor. The difference being that, hey, the local contractor hires local peoples and you don't get a break on the premium from AARP, so stick with your local contractor, okay? It takes care of you and it takes care of the community. It just makes sense to do that. All right. Okay. Now I know that this program we really do our best to focus on the positive, and when we have to talk about things that aren't so positive, a big part of that is toward getting to the positive, because sometimes you have to acknowledge a problem to move forward. You can't just jump in there and say you're going to move forward. You got to check out and see what the obstacles are before. Now, this past weekend, we had a lot of things going on here in St. Croix. And then we had some disruption go on in the place. All right. It's really a serious matter, because the community have eyes, the community have ears, and the community have knowledge. But to the extent that you don't use your eyes, ears, and knowledge, you become hostage. You're in a jail. The idea is for us to be free to enjoy this beautiful place, not to be in a situation where you're afraid to go here or afraid to go there. All right. In fact, I think what was so refreshing, a class at the 80s were there at Kramer Park, and they were having a ball. It was like they had the Juve that got canceled Saturday. They had all of that up there. They had the party and the dancing, the DJs, the swimming, the food. They had it going on, and there were folks who were sharing little snippets of video from Kramer Park as to what was going on. So, it's not me trying to puff it up for more than it was. It was. All right. And I'm happy to see that type of thing going on, whether it's class of 80s, class of 70s, class of 90s. Keep that camaraderie going, keep that sense of community going, and be able to come together and have a good time. So I say more power to you, class of the 80s. Keep it up. It's a good example, and hopefully others will follow in that same realm and make sure that we could have this healthy rivalry to see which class is whether it's the partyist class or whatever the case might be, who got the most pretty boy in their class, who's still doing what, and so forth. It's all part of our community. Got a caller here. Let me see what. Good day, caller. How you doing?
Good morning to you, and how are you?
I'm doing great, fantastic, outstanding, just plain excellent. Don't I always when you call?
Yeah, not only when I call, it's anytime. It seems like you're just upbeat.
Yeah, got to be.
Yeah, but you're talking about the class reunions and what have you. I know that decade of the 80s, they're really a strong group. But I also wanted to tell you thank you and for all the things that you did for us when we were going through our planning stages for the combined classes of 1965. And as you know, we had quite a ball at Martini's, and it carried over into the pool in Frederiksted. And then we had the service at the Anglican Church in Frederiksted. They called it a Mass on the Grass. What the church did, which was, I thought, very, very nice, they provided backpacks and books and, school supplies for the children of the parish and also for the teachers. And that was presented to them right after, and then they had a little banquet. We couldn't stay for the banquet because we also had our brunch right after that up at Carambola. And that turned into another great event, and so it was a good weekend. It was a good weekend, and one of the things that was a highlight of that luncheon, we had the trumpet player who was Claude Richards, and his nephew and they played, and they got a little funky there with some old blues.
Wow.
It was really nice. And one of the classmates, he did a little country and western sing-along kind of thing. So it was nice. It was,
all right.
It was a really nice weekend, and the food, oh my Lord, the food at the picnic.
I saw some of those pictures at Callaloo and everything, and I said, what? They were doing it.
It was really nice, and so for the help that you gave us, I want to say thank you on behalf of the combined classes of 1965.
Well, we're always glad to help. The WSTX is a community-minded station, and that's what we're here for. But we have to follow up, because I got some good footage from there at Martini's. All right, because it is proof that yes, there's an aging process, and you have to age, but you don't have to be old.
That's right. That's right.
All right. So I really look forward to getting together with you on that. And please tell Tyrone we need those slideshows so I can incorporate it.
Okay. I sure will.
All right.
I sure tell them.
Fantastic.
And thanks again, Doug.
Okay,
have
great.
A great day.
Okay,
Bye-bye.
thank you. Bye. Okay, we got to take a pause for the cause here, and we'll be back. I'll have my guests here, and we'll continue the discussion.